What's in it for me?
Have you signed your other stuff?
I'd like to call the City of Muskegon City Commission meeting for April 24th, 2012 to order. I'd like to welcome Pastor Josh Deere from Lakeside Baptist Church, who will lead us in prayer to be followed by the pledge. Pastor, thank you.
Please pray with me. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks and praise for the gift of another day. We thank you for providing for our needs each day and for blessing us with homes to live in, food to eat, family members to love, neighbors who care about our well-being, and the freedom to gather each week in our local churches to worship you and thank you for your goodness. Lord, even in the midst of our own struggles and disappointments, you still bless us so far beyond what we could ever deserve. Help us to never take your goodness to us for granted. And today we thank you for the city of Muskegon and for permitting us to live together as friends and neighbors in this wonderful place. We thank you also for the city leaders who you've raised up and entrusted with the responsibility of governing over us. We ask you now to govern over their hearts, even as they govern over our lives. Help them to make decisions which honor you and which best serve our great city. Thank you in advance for what you will accomplish in this time and for all of the many ways that you bless each one of us every day. In the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord, amen.
Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor. Pastor is here this evening with his, I don't know if the audience recalls it, we introduced his son about a year ago. He'll be celebrating his first birthday at the end of next month, Luther Martin. So, Pastor, thanks for being here and bringing Luther. Keep us bringing the update back so we watch him grow. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner German,
Here.
Vice Mayor Gowron,
Here.
Commissioner Waringo, here. Commissioner Turnquist,
Here.
Mayor Warmington,
Here.
Commissioner Hood,
Here.
Commissioner Spataro.
Here. Thank you. Before we get into the meat of the City Commission meeting, we're very honored tonight to have the recipients of the 2011 Outstanding Citizenship Awards that are here. And Commissioner Waringo, I believe, is going to make a presentation.
Good evening, everybody. It's my great pleasure and it's a great blessing that we have these two people in our community. Laura Gates, who has been honored previously at the Rotary meeting, but just stand up so we can see you. Laura has a rich background in adult education and family literacy. This is her real passion. She is a program director of adult education. She's retired now, however, but still working in the same area, I'm sure. And the Even Start Family Literacy Program. She was a GED state trainer for the language arts reading test, and she helped to develop the Michigan Office of Adult Education, the Adult Learning Plan, and has written and managed state and federal grants for Orchard View Schools. We are very happy to have you with us. Oh, the microphone.
They're saying in the back they can't hear you.
Oh, I can't believe that. My children always could, although they pretended they couldn't. Laura was director of the William Gooding Family Even Start program for 12 years and now continues to volunteer her knowledge in family literacy. Can you stand up once more? We're so pleased to know you. Secondly, I am pleased to tell you about Joe Staple. He was unable to come. Rotary, the Muskegon Rotary backs this whole effort, And so that's why Laura was there. And you were unable to be there, so you are here tonight, which is marvelous. So glad to meet you. Joe is the Director of Campus Safety at Baker College, and he says a proud resident of the city of Muskegon. And he has really a passion for the city's beaches and the bike paths, or the walking path. He has been volunteering to pick up litter on the city beaches and the parking lots for several years now. 5, I think. 5. And also 5 years helping to maintain the bike trail, which we all love and use. So we really are so pleased to know you and to honor you for doing these wonderful things. And we have a lovely flag for you. Laura got hers the other day. Thank you very much. Outstanding Citizen Award for 2012. Thank
you. Laura and Joe, thank you very much for what you've done for our community, and it's nice that you were recognized for the work that you've done. I've known Joe for a few years now, and I know that Joe's much more active in the Lakeside neighborhood than just the bike trail and the beaches. He's active with the neighborhood association and sort of, because of his background in law enforcement, sort of the neighborhood watch guy that takes care of that neighborhood. So we appreciate that. But I think I got some news today, and I want to share it with the commission and with the citizens of this community. We talk about the recreational trail, bike trail as many call it, throughout the city of Muskegon, but we want to talk about the examples of citizen partnerships that through the Community Foundation for Muskegon County, the city of Muskegon has been very fortunate to have been a part of many of these partnerships. This year, certainly what's going on in Hackley Park from Norma and Joe Horan, the work that's been done out at Pierre Marquette Park through the Eklund family with the lights and life rings that have been done in the past. There's also the electric charging stations. We all know that Mike and Kay Olthoff with their downtown theater in our downtown. Certainly Alcoa has been a part, even though it's sort of a separate foundation, but it's through the leadership of our foundation that those investments have been made. And when we talk about the bike trail, certainly there's a maintenance fund that goes along with the bike trail. And the city of Muskegon started with their income tax returns, city income tax returns here a few years ago, that people could contribute if they had a refund coming back to go into a fund to help the city do the maintenance costs. In order for a fund, I believe, to become active, it has to reach a $10,000 amount, and we were very fortunate to have Roger and Barbara Brink, who made a substantial donation so that would become an active fund. Today, Bob Chaplin indicated to me that the advisory committee for the Darling Kathleen Staley Fund are going to make a recommendation to do a $25,000 match challenge that will be carried out through the rest of fiscal year 2012 through December 31st. So I'm hoping Mr. Alexander's paying attention and we can get the word out that any folks that would like to make a contribution between now and December 31st up to the $25,000 level will be matched. So we're very, very thankful to the Darling Kathleen Staley Fund, and I want to thank, I see Bob's here, and I also see Chris McWigan here from the foundation. So we want to thank you. Get back to your advisory committees and your board and tell them we appreciate all the work that they've done for the city of Muskegon. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
May we have the consent agenda read, please?
Approval of minutes, City Clerk, summary request. To approve minutes of the April 9th Commission work session and the April 10th City Commission meeting. Staff recommendation, approval of the minutes. Liquor license request from AJIT Corporation, 1121 East Laketon. City Clerk, summary request. The Liquor Control Commission is seeking local recommendation on a request from AJIT Corporation of 1121 East Laketon for a new SDM license, new Sunday sales permit, AM, and new gas pumps. Staff recommendation, all departments are recommending approval. Rejection of environmental program mowing and trash cleanup bids. Planning and Economic Development. Summary request. The contract for mowing of lots and trash cleanup of public and private properties previously held by Freelance Enterprises Incorporated has expired on March 31, 2012. A request for bids was advertised and 4 companies placed bids. Staff recommendation to formally reject all bids because of deficiencies in the bids and to rebid the contract for the mowing of lots and trash removal on properties located within the city. 2012 water treatment chemical bids, Public Works. Summary request. Recommend endorsement of lowest responsible bidder to supply sodium hypochlorite for the water filtration plant. Staff recommendation. Staff recommends the mayor and city clerk commission and city commission endorse the low bid received and enter into contract with KA Steel Chemicals for sodium hypochlorite for 1 year. Approval of contractor for lead abatement and rehabilitation of house at 1733 Mans, Community Neighborhood Services. Summary request. To approve the contract with Jeff Fisher, J.D. Fisher Builders, 123 North 8th Avenue, Fruitport, for the lead abatement and rehabilitation of the home located at 1733 Mans for the cost of $89,780. This project is being financed by Neighborhood Stabilization Funds from the Michigan State Housing Development Authority with possible home funds from HUD. After the lead abatement and rehabilitation is completed, the home will be marketed to sell to an eligible home buyer with an annual income less than 120% of the area median income. City obtained the house at 1733 Mans with Neighborhood Stabilization Program funds. The city received 3 bids. Staff recommendation to approve Community Neighborhood Services Office to develop a contract with J.D. Fisher Builders and direct the mayor and clerk to sign the contract. Security cameras, Public Service Building, Public Works. Summary request. Authorize staff to purchase 12 security cameras and an HDD VR recorder from Lakeshore Security and Electronics, which was the lowest bidder. This will replace the existing system that is not working and is out of date. Staff recommendation, purchase from the low bidder, Lakeshore Security and Electronics. Seaway Industrial Park property sale, City Manager. Summary request. To approve a sale of property in the Seaway Industrial Park to Eastwood Development LLC, Wood Trucking. Staff recommendation to approve the purchase agreement, authorize the mayor and clerk to execute it, and authorize city staff to execute all necessary closing documents. Amendment to City's 457 plan to allow for employee hardship loans, finance. Summary request. The city has long offered full-time employees the opportunity to save for retirement through voluntary contributions to a 457 deferred compensation plan. 457 plans are similar to 401k plans in the private sector. The 457 plan is completely separate from the city's defined benefit and defined contribution retirement programs. Once an employee contributes money to the 457 plan, it can be withdrawn only when the employee separates service or in the case of extreme financial hardship. The city has received numerous hardship withdrawal requests and inquiries in recent years. Although employees' needs are legitimate, almost all requests are rejected because of the stringent IRS regulations governing these withdrawals. 457 loan provisions are less restrictive, allowing for needs such as home purchase, unreimbursed medical expenses, and college education for dependents. Staff believes implementing the hardship loan provision will provide employees a way to access their money for legitimate financial needs. Staff recommendation, adoption of the resolution and approval of the loan guidelines is described. Movies on the Beach, request for extended hours, planning and economic development. Summary request. Carrie Halloran is requesting that Pere Marquette Park be allowed to remain open past 11 p.m. on Friday, June 15th, and possibly for future dates this summer if the Movies project is successful. Carrie's project is one of the winners of the Communities Foundation's Love Notes contest. Because we have such a late sunset in the summer and the movies will start around dusk, it is likely that the movie will not be over by the 11 p.m. park closing time. Staff recommendation to approve the request allowing Pere Marquette Park to remain open past 11 p.m. on movie nights. Catamaran Racing Association of Michigan request for overnight camping at PM Park. Planning Economic Development. Summary request. CRAM is requesting permission to hold a catamaran sailing regatta at Pere Marquette Park August 23rd through 26, 2012. They would like to use the city-owned lot that is currently being leased by Captain Jack's for overnight RV camping on August 23rd, 24th, and 25th, 2012. They are requesting to add the additional night of camping this year, August 23rd, starting on Thursday night instead of Friday, to add sailing events on Friday. They expect 6 to 10 RVs in the lot overnight. This is the event's 5th year of operation. They have provided proof of liability insurance and a letter from Captain Jacks indicating their support of the event. Staff recommendation to approve the request for overnight camping at Pure Marquette for this event on August 23rd, 24th, 25th, 2012. Committee recommendation, this request was recommended for approval by the city's special event approval staff. Michigan Beach Polo request to serve alcohol at Pure Marquette Park, Planning and Economic Development. Summary request. The organizers of the Michigan Beach Polo event are requesting to serve beer and wine with an emphasis on local beers during their beach polo event at Pure Marquette Park on June 9, 2012. They are partnering with the Helen DeVos Children's Hospital Foundation. Staff recommendation to approve the sale of beer and wine at Pure Marquette Park on June 9, 2012 during the beach polo game. Committee recommendation. This request was recommended for approval by the city's special event approval staff. Engineering services agreement for traffic signals warrants evaluation at various locations. Engineering. Summary request. Authorize staff to enter into an engineering services agreement with URS Corporation out of Grand Rapids for a not-to-exceed cost of $31,350 to perform traffic signal warrants evaluation at various locations throughout mainly the downtown area. The reason behind this request is to eliminate unnecessary stoppage, thus saving fuel and enhancing the traffic movements. Staff feels the study is warranted at this time due to the modified traffic patterns within the proposed study area due to the construction of Shoreline Drive and the conversion of Muskegon and Webster. The approach at this time is to strictly evaluate the needs for signals at the various locations, and the result will be presented to the City Commission for further action at a later date. Staff recommendation, authorize staff to enter into an agreement with URS Corporation. This recommendation was arrived at after reviewing two other proposals from Wade Trim for $75,000 and for Progressive $38,796.
Thank you. Commissioners, you've heard the consent agenda read. Are there any items you'd like to have removed for further discussion? Commissioner Spataro. Item L. Item L. And I and K. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would move that we approve the consent agenda as presented minus items K and L.
And I.
And
I.
I. And I as well.
And I as well. Is there support?
I'll second that.
Thank you. It's been moved by Vice Mayor Garland, supported by Commissioner Spataro, to approve the consent agenda as read, less items I, K, and L. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Gorin,
Yes.
Commissioner Waringo,
Yes.
Commissioner Turnquist,
Yes.
Mayor Warmington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Spataro,
Yes.
Commissioner German.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item I, Vice Mayor Garland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would move that we approve the request allowing Pere Marquette Park to remain open past 11 p.m. on movie night.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Vice Mayor Garland, supported by Commissioner Spataro, to approve the Movies on the Beach request for extended hours on movie nights.
Mr. Mayor, that was Commissioner German.
Oh, I'm sorry,
That's okay.
Commissioner German. Who's staff on this? Kathy? I think this is a great idea, and I guess my only concern is that because it's being proposed for one night with the possibility of other nights, that I would prefer to see that any other movie nights, other than the first one, be approved by staff, just in case there's something that comes up that may be an issue that we may want to have some discussion on with the promoter of this.
I think that's fine. I think they originally intended maybe 4 nights, but maybe they just want to make sure it's going to go all right before they...
Well, and I understand that, but if for some reason that there's more noise than some of the citizens have, and I guess my other thing would be is, do we need to keep all of Pere Marquette Park open, or just an area where the movie's actually going to be shown? I think,
I'm sure that's probably just I don't know how we do that exactly, but we could try to keep it just to the area where the movies are.
well, do you know where they're planning on showing the movie?
Probably close to, they're going to need electricity, so it's probably going to be close to the beach house area.
All right, so say from
Yeah, maybe
Lakeshore Drive,
we put up a sign
to
or
the
something
south
saying, for
could still
movie
be closed.
attendance or something, we could probably do that.
Do we need to amend the motion? And I don't know what the commissioners feel about those items that I brought up, but
I don't know that the motion has to be,
amended. Would the commission seem to be in agreement with those?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Waringo?
Yes.
Commissioner Turnquist?
yes.
Mayor Warmington?
Yes.
Commissioner Hood?
Yes.
Commissioner Spataro?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gowron?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item K, Vice Mayor Gowan.
I would move that the request to serve alcohol at Pear Marquette Park for the Michigan Beach polo event be approved.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Vice Mayor Gowan, supported by Commissioner Waringo, to approve the Michigan Beach Polo request to serve alcohol at Pierre Marquette Park. Staff recommendation here is to approve the sale of beer and wine at Pierre Marquette Park on June 9th during the beach polo game. Will the beach polo game be going to 11 o'clock at night?
No, I do not believe so.
So my point would be, is it just for that day up until 11 o'clock, or will we be, if the game ends at 6, is that when, if they were still continuing to serve, would we be going back to them and saying, you got to close at 6? And I believe the license.
Right, it would just be for the time of the event. I mean, we're not going to let them
Okay. All right,
continue.
well, I
once-
just said, it said during the beach polo game.
Sure,
so
yep.
I wouldn't think- okay. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Turnquist?
Yes.
Mayor Warmington?
Yes.
Commissioner Hood?
Yes.
Commissioner Spataro?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gowron?
Yes.
Commissioner Waringo?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item L, Commissioner Spataro.
Yeah, I would move that we approve the engineering services agreement for traffic signals, warrants, evaluation, the various locations downtown to URS Corporation.
Second?
It's been moved by Commissioner Spataro, supported by Vice Mayor Gowron, to approve the engineering services agreement for traffic signals with warrants evaluation at various locations with URS Corporation. Commissioner Spataro.
Thank you. Yeah, the reason I wanted to discuss this is a couple things. One, I think with the new traffic pattern, we do need to evaluate this, but I want to make sure that we're all in agreement on what the outcome we're looking for would be. You know, most of, not everybody, but a lot of folks who are going through and don't want to stop at stoplights are taking Shoreline Drive. And as far as traffic that wants to patronize businesses and so on, it seems to be working fairly well. Speeds are actually at the speed limit. I mean, the speed limit hasn't changed, but I can't tell you the number of people over the years who have said, why did you lower the speed limit on Muskegon and Webster? Well, no, we didn't. But people are now driving the speed limit. So I want to make sure that we don't set up a situation where we turn those two streets back into a racetrack. That would not be beneficial to the businesses. I mean, all the research that we've looked at prior to this shows that speeds over 30 miles an hour actually takes business away as opposed to increases business, even though there might be higher volume. And the other thing is that I want to make sure that they're also evaluating the cross traffic. One of the reasons for turning Muskegon and Webster back were to knit the neighborhood immediately south of downtown back to downtown. And yet, the way the lights are still timed, particularly if you're like on Jefferson or 4th Street, that north-south traffic flow is still really impeded. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page with what we're looking for out of this, and that we don't end up with a situation where everything's geared up so there's no traffic control devices on Muskegon and Webster, and people can get back up to 50 miles an hour like they were before the turnback. Thank you, Your Honor.
I guess my comment would be is that I've heard recently, I've seen the last 2 or 3 months, a lot of folks that have commented to me, and by a lot, it's probably a half dozen, but that complaining about the fact that they've got to stop and the cost of fuel and the emissions and all of that that are going on. So I think it's good that we're taking the time to take a look at this, and I understand completely with what Commissioner Spataro was talking about on Webster and Muskegon. So, thank you. Any other discussion or comments? Roll call, please.
Mayor Warmington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Spataro,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gowron,
Yes.
Commissioner Waringo,
Yes.
Commissioner Turnquist.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Public hearings, item A, please.
Request for an Industrial Facilities Exemption Certificate, AFI Machining, Planning Economic Development. Summary request. Pursuant to Public Act 198 of 1974, as amended, AFI Machining, 1920 Port City Boulevard, has requested the issuance of an Industrial Facilities Tax Exemption Certificate. The total capital investment will be $1,120,000 in personal property and will create 2 jobs. This qualifies them for a tax abatement of 6 years. Staff recommendation, approval of the resolution granting an industrial facilities exemption certificate for a term of 6 years for personal property.
Mr. Francis?
We have 2 IFT requests today, one for AFI Hole Drill and one for AFI Machining, which are both owned by the same parent company, Aerofoil International. There's about $1.8 million in investment between the two for a total of 4 new jobs. Dwana Thompson has met with them on their affirmative action policy. Steve Kuchis, the president, could not be here tonight, but his son Jim is here if you have any questions.
Commissioners, any questions of staff or the applicant? Is there anyone in the audience that would care to address this item?
I have a question.
Does that mean that you want to address this item? And if so, please step up to the podium and give your name and address.
I'm Shanti Davy, 4380 Hackley Point Lane, Norton Shores. I was just wondering, for that amount, for that many years of tax abatement, what would the figure be that they're getting for 4 new jobs? Doesn't seem like very many new jobs. That's my question.
Okay.
Maybe you can answer it.
Tim,
I believe we had that in the staff packets. It shows the total abatement amount on the summary sheets. I don't have those figures in front of me.
Any other folks that want to? I'm sorry, did you want to come up?
I was just going to address the question.
Okay.
Actually, in between the next 3 and 5 years, our goal is to have in between 50 and 75 employees. The actual goal in the next 3 years is just what our sales forecasts are for, and that's why we've only stated that we could guarantee 4 jobs. But if the forecast goes as planned, we're looking to hire an additional 30 people actually within the next 3 to 5 years if everything goes well. Thanks.
It's,
Down.
yeah, I've got the sheet here for this one. The total new taxes generated for the city only is $6,200, and the value of the abatement for the period of time is $3,100 annually.
And that would be new taxes.
Yeah, so we're receiving $3,100 in new taxes by doing this, and they're paying $3,100 less than they would otherwise by the abatement.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the audience? Roll call, please. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought we did that. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
I'll be happy to make a motion. I would move that we close the public hearing and approve the resolution granting an industrial facilities exemption certificate for a period of 6 years for personal property to AFI Machining.
Second.
It's been moved by Vice Mayor Gowan, supported by Commissioner German, to close the public hearing and approve the request for an industry facilities exemption certificate for AFI Machining. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Spataro,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gowron,
Yes.
Commissioner Waringo,
Yes.
Commissioner Turnquist,
Yes.
Mayor Warmington.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item B, please.
Request for an Industrial Facilities Exemption Certificate, AFI Hole Drill, Planning Economic Development. Summary request. Pursuant to Public Act 198 of 1974 as amended, AFI Hole Drill 1920 Port City Boulevard has requested the issuance of an Industrial Facilities Tax Exemption Certificate. The total capital investment will be $599,800 in personal property and will create 2 jobs. This qualifies them for a tax abatement of 6 years under the current city policy. Staff recommendation, approval of the resolution granting an industrial facilities exemption certificate for a term of 6 years for personal property.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Is there anyone in the audience who would care to address this item? Mr. Spataro.
Thank you. Well, seeing no public comment, I would move that we close the public hearing and grant the request for an industrial facilities exemption certificate for AFI hole drill as described.
Second?
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Spataro, supported by Vice Mayor Gowron, to close the public hearing and approve the request for an industrial facilities exemption certificate for AFI hole drill. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Spataro,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gowron,
Yes.
Commissioner Waringo,
Yes.
Commissioner Turnquist,
Yes.
Mayor Warmington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you for your investment. Appreciate it. Good luck to you.
Thank
Say hi to your dad for us. New business. Item A, please.
Approval of sale of city-owned home at 1543 Hoyt, Community and Neighborhood Services. Summary request. To approve the resolution and instruct the Community and Neighborhood Services Department to complete the sales transaction between Mr. Kadon Lamphere for the newly constructed home at 1543 Hoyt Street, which is part of the city's Neighborhood Stabilization Program through the Michigan State Housing Development Authority Office of Community Development. Mr. Lamphere's purchase price is $71,000. The previous house was foreclosed and demolished. We now have a beautiful 4-bedroom, 3.5-bath home with a 2-car detached garage. Staff recommendation to approve the resolution and direct the CNS staff to complete the sale.
Thank you.
I'd like to introduce the Realtor for the family. The family is unable to attend, and this is one of the highlights of my job and of this particular department, to introduce new citizens who are willing to invest in the city of Muskegon and live here as citizens. So I'm going to turn it over to David Anderson. He's going to explain to you who this family is.
Mr.
Good evening,
Anderson,
everyone.
could you give your name and address, please?
My name is Dave Anderson. I'm a Realtor with Coldwell Banker here in Muskegon, and I live at 4049 Wickham Drive in Norton Shores. I represent the buyer clients. Their names, Keaton and Joy Lamphere, and they live in Pennsylvania. He's a military person, and we've been searching for a home in the area for perhaps, 8-10 months. It's a wonderful family. The wife homeschools her children, and the husband, he's, again, assigned to the military in the Army, and he's in the Department of Transportation, I believe. Here's a picture of your new neighbors. They have rather dour looks on their face, and I attribute that to Keaton's military background. So that's basically it. Any questions?
No.
No. Thank you all.
Thank you. Commissioner Spataro.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would move that we approve the sale of the city-owned home at 1543 Hoyt to the I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, the Lamphere family for the price indicated.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Spataro, supported by Commissioner Waringo, to approve the sale of the city-owned home at 1543 Hoyt to the Lamphere family. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gowron,
Yes.
Commissioner Waringo,
Yes.
Commissioner Turnquist,
Yes.
Mayor Warmington,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Spataro.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anita. Tell them we look forward to them moving into the neighborhood, Mr. Anderson.
Welcome to the third quarter.
Item B, please.
Ballot Resolution, Civil Service, City Manager, summary request to approve a resolution to place a question on the November 2012 election ballot to eliminate civil service from the city charter. Staff recommendation to approve the resolution.
Thank you. Commissioner Spataro.
Oh, thank you, Your Honor. I would move that we approve the resolution to place the elimination of the civil service to be replaced with a personnel system on the ballot for November.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Spataro, supported by Commissioner German, to approve the resolution to place a question on the November 2012 election ballot to eliminate civil service from the city charter. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Spataro.
Just a couple things. I've noticed, I do read the Chronicle, and it's MY Media Group, and the folks who like to comment on the articles thereon. And already people are mischaracterizing what this is about. This is about modernizing an extremely antiquated personnel system that has made it difficult to hire people in a timely way and to make sure we're getting the best possible candidates coming in and working for the city of Muskegon. Oftentimes, the folks who are the highest on the list through the civil service system have taken employment elsewhere because they have the flexibility to offer the job before we're done grinding through this early 20th century civil service system. So this is not set up to create a quota system or to create special preferences for people. This is to bring our personnel system into the 21st century so we can operate in a business-like manner and ensure that when we have openings, we are filling them with the most qualified candidate and the most timely basis possible. And I think we just need to keep reminding people of that. It's about getting the most qualified person, ideally somebody who's looking for work here in Muskegon County, in a timely basis, and to modernize this system that was set up in 30, I think it was? 35? So I think it's time for an upgrade. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Question. Now, this has been on the ballot before, correct?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Now, could it be that the language and how it was worded made some of the residents, not pass this? I guess I'm kind of just recommending that it be in a language where it's pretty straightforward, where it won't confuse voters on which way to vote. Not just kind of giving them, a way where it looks this way, but just to have them just pretty much understand it cut and dry. So I'm just kind of would like to see something like that, a straightforward language without any thing that would deter them from voting. Right.
Sure.
Commissioner, the ballot language is on the second to the last page on the resolution. If this body would like to work on that ballot language, I would suggest then a tabling of this to allow time to make changes on the ballot language.
And would that be ready for the November election?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, we'd have to do it long before that.
If we did it, yeah.
Well, but I'm wondering if you want to then table this until your next meeting to allow people to, to incorporate any suggested changes on the ballot language, because the ballot language will be sent to the governor's office and the attorney general's office as part of this resolution.
Okay.
I guess maybe to add on to what Mr. Schreier said, I think
from my perspective, the ballot proposal is quite clear. When you read the short section that, as Mr. Shar said, would be on the ballot, it's very clear that the proposal is to eliminate the civil service system, and it goes on to say a little bit more, but it's fairly brief and quite concise. The resolution has a lot more language to it, certainly, includes the provisions of the civil service, the provisions that are in the charter, but the actual ballot language is I think, as I said, brief and concise.
Commissioner Waringo?
The only thing I'm concerned about is that we interpret this well, because I think people see something being eliminated, and civil service has kind of an aura about it, and they're going to think, oh my gosh, what are they doing now? So we need to be very clear that the personnel system will very handily replace the civil service system. We need to talk about it a lot and get a couple of articles that Dave Alexander will write or something of that nature. I mean, I really feel that's why it didn't go through last time.
Is there any feeling from the other commissioners that they want to take a look at this at the work session in May and then bring it back to the next meeting, or Vice Mayor Garland?
I think that the ballot language is clear, and we've gone through this exercise before, and I think that the populace, they're quite aware, and some are rather disgruntled and saying, can't we get it? We tried it before and it's been turned down. But I think in our last attempts, a number of individuals, took the initiative to help educate, the citizens as to the whys and the wherefores of this, attempt by going to neighborhood associations and other groups and speaking. So, I'm comfortable, as it is. And then we can take our initiative and, operating within the parameters of our, positions, speak to the public as we have in the past. And, but I wouldn't think that, personally, I wouldn't think that we would need to table. I think perhaps some of that, got lost in the verbiage of the rest of the paperwork.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hood?
I think maybe not so much the language on the proposal. I think it's more or less what we have in mind that's going to be put in its place. I think that's what people really need to understand and get a good understanding what is going to replace the civil service process.
Well, I think those are all good points. Perhaps what we could do is we could do a little items that you think that need to be cleared, or any of us think need to be clear, is put it in a question form, put it in an answer form, and then we could put it on our website and make it available if any of us wanted to print some out to share with neighborhood associations and those type of things. But some work that maybe that we'll have to do as we prepare to go forward if in fact this passes. Okay? Is that all right with everyone? Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Golan?
Yes.
Commissioner Waringo?
Yes.
Commissioner Turnquist?
Yes.
Mayor Warmington?
Yes.
Commissioner Hood?
Yes.
Commissioner Spataro?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item C, please.
Muskegon Lake Shoreline Restoration, Public Works, summary request. Consider the West Michigan Shoreline Regional Development Commission's request to restore another section of the Muskegon Lake shoreline as per the letter and map. Staff recommendation, approve the request since the proposed work includes the cleanup of the area adjacent to the bike path from all debris.
Thank you. Commissioner Spataro.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would move that we approve the request for the Muskegon Lake shoreline restoration, and all the other parts of it as described.
Second?
It's been moved by Commissioner Spataro, supported by Vice Mayor Gowan, to approve the request for the West Michigan Shoreline Regional Development Commissions to restore a section of the Muskegon Lake shoreline. Is there any discussion, Commissioner Spataro?
Certainly. Is there something you could perhaps describe the proposed project so people know where we're talking about and what kind of things would be done? There's a Kathy in the crowd who can probably know. There we go. There we go.
Kathy Evans, West Michigan Shoreline Regional Development Commission. The proposed restoration, I think you have this map showing kind of clearly the location of this. This is a very kind of a superficial type of restoration. We're taking a lot of the debris, broken concrete, things that you kind of see on the surface out of there. We'll be managing a lot of the invasive species. There's honeysuckle, which is a shrub that invades and doesn't allow other native plants to grow. We'll be taking out some of the larger trees that are actually invasive too, the black locust. There's quite a bit of that in that area too. And when that comes up as little sprouts, if you cut a big tree, a lot of little sprouts will come up. It's very thorny, and it just really kind of does the same thing as honeysuckle. It just kind of invades the area, and then nothing else grows. It obliterates the view of the lake as well. So what we'll do is we'll remove those things, and we'll replace with native plants. We're not really going out far into the water with this project, and we're containing the area primarily between the trail and the lakeshore edge. We do have a project that I'll come back to you on in the future that will do some more work offshore, underwater, in that area where there's a lot of historic slabwood. But this particular project is not that one, and this is just confining to the kind of beach area, if you will. I do understand, too, from talking to staff, Mohammed and Kelly DeFrench, that there are some areas you'd like to keep open for potential future picnic area or something like that, because this is the NOAA grant, and as you know from the prior restoration projects, once we do this restoration in this area, it's not buildable later for other things. So this would be a natural area between the path and the lakeshore, and it would come under those same rules as the other restoration that we did. So we'll work carefully with the staff to make sure that we carve out some areas where you maybe later might want to put some, if you need to put a cement pad down for a picnic shelter or something like that, or walkways and access.
And for the folks at home who probably couldn't see the map because it was really small, what section of the trail, again, are we talking about? It's basically Coles to where?
Yeah. If you were down on Lakeshore Trail and you're coming around the mouth of where Ruddiman Creek and the bridge is there, you'd continue on around the former Amoco Tank Farm, heading further east of that, and then beginning there all the way until you get to where Cole's property is, also the Lakeshore Yacht Club is right in that area. So it's connecting two other major restoration sections of the lakeshore that we've already implemented on both public and private properties. We did the Kirksey and Michigan Steel property just to the east, and to the west we've done the Lakeshore Trail, and then further west Grand Trunk, which is state property.
And when would you anticipate that work being done?
This work will be completed over the course of the summer. We should be getting started soon. We're in the design phase, so the staff and others, whoever wants to give input on it, will be working over the next month and a half on that. Implementation will occur then and be completed by, no later than fall. We understand the bike path is there, and we don't want to disrupt that, and we've worked with the staff in areas where we've had the bike path before. So, we'll do the things that the city needs, videoing the bike path to make sure, if there's any problems, it gets patched back up or anything like that, And so we'll follow those same procedures to work with staff if that's, your pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy? Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Wieringo?
Yes.
Commissioner Turnquist?
Yes.
Mayor Warmington?
Yes.
Commissioner Hood?
Yes.
Commissioner Spataro?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gowan?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item D, please.
Concurrence with the Housing Board of Appeals notice and order to demolish the following: public safety. 557 West Clay Avenue, 28 Delaware Avenue, Area 11, 1469 6th Street, Area 10. Summary request. This is to request that the City Commission concur with the findings of the Housing Board of Appeals that the structures are unsafe, substandard, a public nuisance, and that they be demolished within 30 days. It is further requested that administration be directed to obtain bids for the demolition of the structures, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized and directed to execute a contract for demolition with the lowest responsible bidder. Staff recommendation to concur with the Housing Board of Appeals decision to demolish.
Thank you. I believe we have someone in here to speak on 557 West Clay Avenue. I received a slip on that. Is there anyone here to discuss 28 Delaware Avenue or 1469 6th Street? Commissioner Spataro.
Seeing no one, I would move that we concur with the Housing Board of Appeals notice in order to demolish 28 Delaware Avenue and 1469 6th Street.
Second?
It's been moved by Commissioner Spataro, supported by Vice Mayor Gorin, to approve and concur with the Housing Board of Appeals notice in order to demolish 28 Delaware Avenue and 1469 6th Street. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Turnquist?
Yes.
Mayor Warmington?
Yes.
Commissioner Hood?
Yes.
Commissioner Spataro?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gorin?
Yes.
Commissioner Waringo?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right. Commissioner Spataro.
Thank you. So we may proceed with discussion. I would move that we concur with the Housing Board notice to demolish 557 West Clay Avenue.
Second?
It's been moved by Commissioner Spataro, supported by Vice Mayor Gorin, to concur with the Housing Board of Appeals notice in order to demolish 557 West Clay Avenue. Ms. McLean.
Jody McLean, 1561 6th Street. I'm here. I was out of Muskegon for 2 years. I had to go back and take care of my father, and I just got back in November and have just recently found out about this moving to demolish the building, and I have been in a lot of speaking with the owner and looking at the property, and I just want to say that I really do not approve of the way that the demolition is being, going forward. I looked at some of the past history. It was taken off of the dangerous building list. It was put back on the dangerous building list with some of the things that they knew was already, when it was taken off of the dangerous building list, that were still a part of the inner part. However, he was given the ability to use the back portion as an office and the garage. So what I am asking this commission to do is I would ask that you would table this for at least 30 days. Scott did go and approach the inspections department this morning unwillingly. I wouldn't say unwillingly, but this has been a fight with the city for years, and it's not just Scott, it has all of the history. And for this to be pushed and pushed for this demolition before the festivals come is just a foreshadowing, and again, of what happened with his uncle's property. Everything had to be pushed before these festivals. And there are parts of that property that are not substandard and not a public nuisance. And, he has taken very good care of the area, and I really think that specifics need to be listed on this. And I would like to see, he would be willing to, go forward with the demolition with, I believe that there needs to be some limitations, like certain parts of the landscaping. There's no reason to destroy the beauty that has been put into that sections. There's no reason for the office area, which is in the back, to be destroyed. It was never part of the part that they were saying was substandard. The garage in the back, there are parts. So what I would like to see is a more defined area of what needs to be demolished, if it is to go forward with demolishing, giving Scott the opportunity to do it and not putting a requirement of having it done within 30 days because of a festival, but I would like to see, a 5-month period or some kind of a month period. We did contact a demolition company, and they stated that, even if they got the bid, it's usually a 3-month time period for them to even come in and demolish. When you hastily demolish a building, there's a lot of things that go in the air. And I have documented problems with my breathing since the last building that was demolished hastily in my lungs. So I'm just asking for wisdom. I'm asking for you guys to be lenient with the history behind this. I really don't want to see another really great historic home taken. Are there changes that need to be made? Yes. There were, if it wasn't for a homeless person getting into his property, it would have never gotten onto this dangerous building list again, and he would have been able to go forth and proceed. It was tabled because of Victor's death, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the commission for seeing and having mercy on him for that, but I would just request that you look again, have the inspection department be a little bit more clear about what really has to come down, and work with Scott instead of requiring it to come down in 30 days. Let some of these things be saved and some of these parts of this property be saved. That's all.
Thank you.
Are you suggesting a partial demolition?
Yes.
Commissioner Spataro.
Thank you. I could maybe shed some light on this as the city commission's representative on the Historic District Commission. Because this is in the Historic District, and the Historic District Commission had to review the request for demolition, and actually has the authority legally to delay demolition up to 6 months. Mr. Skuratsky did appear before the Historic District Commission. The deficiencies of the building were outlined in detail for the Historic District Commission. Now, this is after it's already gone through the Housing Board of Appeals process. Nothing, according to Mr. Skuratsky, is substantially changed with the building. The majority of this building has been gutted out. It is an empty shell. There are significant structural problems with the building where, through various renovations, plumbers, electricians, and so on, have compromised load-bearing structures, the joists, and so on. So there is a real hazard involved with the building. He indicated, Mr. Skuratsky indicated that he had not been using the building as an office for some time, and that's why he was unaware that a person had been squatting in the building. And he did not dispute that the building needed to come down. His only request to the Historic District Commission was that he be allowed the opportunity to demolish it himself, presumably at less cost than what the city would charge. Based on the presentation of the condition of the building and the property owner's statements at that public meeting, the Historic District Commission decided not to invoke that 6-month waiting rule and voted to allow for demolition. Now, as far as the 30-day timeline, please correct me wrong, but that's standard for any order for demolition. So that's not unique to this property. That would be any property that we go through on this process. And by voting today, Mr. Skuratsky could do what he indicated to the Historic District Commission earlier this month. He could demolish this himself at his own expense and presumably save the cost that hiring a professional contractor from the city would charge. So that's, and then of course those minutes will be available probably in another week from the Historic District Commission to show what was said and all of that information. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Mayor Warmington?
I would like to make a quick comment.
Yes, David Nye, 1495 Westwood Circle, Norton Shores. As a member of Occupy Muskegon, I have to say that we as an organization are very interested in this property. This has not been brought to my attention, certainly, up until now. We have been working with Mr. Saratsky in the past and are very grateful for his generous donation of his property for our use. And we would ask the City Commission, once again, I am not familiar with the particulars of this case. Scott has not been in contact with us regarding it, but we would ask for all possible leniency and all possible consideration for whatever Mr. Saratsky, particularly in light of the past history between his service on the commission, the demolition of his uncle's property, and his ongoing personal issues, the death of his uncle, etc. I would ask that the City Commission table this. Is it necessary to order this today? That's the question I would ask. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nye. Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Warmington?
Yes.
Commissioner Hood?
Yes.
Commissioner Spataro?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gowron?
Yes.
Commissioner Maringo?
No.
Commissioner Turnquist?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And any other business? Commissioners? Okay. Public comment? Ratan. I'm having a hard time with your last name, so I'll call you by your first name. Excuse me for that. Please step up, sir.
Good evening. My name is Ratan. Last name is Khatri, and my business address in Muskegon is 1478 East Ellis Road in Norton Shores, Michigan. And I personally own quite a bit of property in Muskegon County. And also a couple years ago, I started a business called RKP Management to manage property for other property owners and investors here in Muskegon. About a year ago, I approached the council here, or the commission here, excuse me, and about potential conflict in policies regarding rental housing in terms of vacancy and occupancy permits and so forth. And I brought this to the attention of the commission last year, and unfortunately, the same party that one of the parties that I manage a property for has recently been invoiced $2,000 for a vacant building that is not vacant. Last year, he was charged $1,000, and I filed an appeal on a timely basis, provided proof that the property had been listed for sale for several years prior to that, and that particular appeal was denied because of occupancy requirements. And the property was purchased, I believe, in 08 or 09. The address, by the way, is 1626 Pine Street, so forgive me for not stating that. And the property owners have owned it for several years. They purchased it with the intent of rehab and resale, as many other investors used to do, to improve the quality of the stock in Muskegon County. And myself, as I said, I own some property, and I think I've been a good private citizen with maintaining my properties that I rent and maintaining the requirements and so forth, and also as a corporate citizen for the properties that I manage for other people. The issue here is, on the application for a vacant building, it clearly states that you can get a waiver if you can demonstrate that the property is actively being marketed for sale or for lease. In this particular case, it definitely had been listed even prior to the original invoice of $500. Unfortunately, the owners of the property were not aware that they had received this and did not appeal it on a timely basis. So last year, I did pay that $500 from the proceeds. And in the course of the last 12 months, I've been able to manage the property and pay off about 4 years' worth of back taxes. As of today's date, the property is entirely up to date in terms of taxes and so forth. But he's being billed another $2,000 for a vacant building where it was listed for sale. So that's one set of rules. And the other set of rules is you can't get an occupancy permit unless all the taxes are current, even if the property is brand new. So my contention, or my thing that I want to make aware again to the commission is either the property is vacant or it's not vacant. And you can't charge for both and squeeze an investor, squeeze a citizen of the county and the city here for fees when the property was definitely up to code, but unfortunately the taxes weren't current. But then the registration was filed that it's not vacant, and still get a fee for that. So far, $500 has already been paid, $1,000 went to collection, and $2,000 has just been recently invoiced, which I'm going to appeal that recently, and I had a conversation with, I don't know where she went, Hope. And but there's a moral conflict there and a moral problem there, because someone who's trying to rehab a property, improve the quality of the stock, and create a homeowner, and then when the market unfortunately changed for all of us, we've all been suffering through this crisis. Revenues are down, taxes are down, and a lot of folks are not having jobs and they can't qualify to buy a house or have the credit to qualify in terms of financing. So we're just in this loop here, unfortunately. So on the one hand, you're trying to maintain a property, and on the other hand, you're getting billed $1,000 and $2,000 for a property that's not vacant. So I wanted to bring this conflict between the regulations again to the commission, and I'm going to try to resolve it with the city planning department and inspections department. But I just think that it should be known that people are not trying to circumvent anything, but these regulations are in conflict with each other, because if the property is not vacant and was demonstrated clearly that it was listed for sale for a long time even prior to the invoice being issued, it's just too onerous on a citizen, and the client that I manage the property for is ready to just walk away from the whole thing and just forget about it, which would create another vacancy, which would create all the inherent problems and so forth and so on. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention once again.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. I'm going to try to resolve this with the planning department tomorrow and this week. And if any of you have any advice or counsel for me on what direction to proceed, and I would really appreciate that, because I feel like I'm caught in a standoff situation, and I would like to resolve this, in a nice manner for my client.
All right. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nye?
Good evening. My name is Roger Nye. I live at 1495 Westwood Circle in Norton Shores. And I'd simply like to speak out on the issue of freedom of information. My good friend Dan Mills and fellow member of Occupy Muskegon has been trying for the public good to obtain certain information about the SAPI site documentation that's been submitted to the city. The bar has been continually raised for him. He was quoted a price of $300 to get the information, the number of documents being unspecified. He came up with the money, and the latest I heard is that the price was then risen to $750. If I'm wrong about this, please let me know, but this is my understanding of the situation as it stands right now. I don't think this is right. I think that when so central a concern as the SAPI site becomes an issue in the community, I think there should be as much information available to the citizenry as possible. We are all stakeholders in this matter, whether we actually live within the city limits or not. We drink the water from the lake, we swim in the lake, we fish in the lake. What happens to the lake and the shoreline affects us all. And so I'm hoping that some sort of deal can be reached whereby this information can become public, made available to the public either through the library system or some other means, and so we can stop having this as a bone of contention. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nye. Mr. Mills?
Thanks, Roger. Yeah, my name's Dan Mills, 1817 Mills Avenue, 49445. Thanks. And I want to talk also about freedom of information. That's primary for me. This Sappy property and what's happening over there is great concern, but that's secondary to what I think is fundamental in a democracy, and that's freedom of accurate information. Citizens can't meet their obligation, their duty, as the power holders in a democracy if they aren't informed. Don't know why I took my glasses off. Anyway, I made some notes here. I'd like to say that back in January, the first meetings that I attended having to do with the Sappy property, my suspicions were raised because what I saw appeared to be a rush job by very wealthy people. And I heard a lot of lofty claims about the deep concern that these wealthy people had over, things that mean something to us, like our health and our well-being. And I also heard, lofty claims about their performance. I heard, and I was just watching the videos that I have on the internet here just this morning, quoting like 0 contaminants will be released from this explosion. 100% of the documentation is in place. While the city council members were singing like a church choir on the side, I began to get very suspicious, especially when there was absolutely no reference to actual documentation, anything we could verify these claims. And so I began to be suspicious, and I started asking questions. I also attended like the community meetings, Bunker neighborhood, and all of the meaningful questions, like for instance, what is the amount of your insurance bond? I don't know. Are you in a floodplain down there? I don't know. I have to go all the way back to 7th or 8th grade at the failing 7th and 8th grade students to get answers to questions like that. I don't know. Anybody in a business would say, I don't know, but I will find out. And I'll get back with you. No, just, I don't know. What kind of permits do you have to have in place before you blow up a smokestack? I don't know. This is what he said in this meeting. So I started thinking, there's something really funny going on here. And I was asking, for documents from the city and the county. County claimed they didn't have any, so the city probably does. City members said that the city has documents. Talk to the manager. And the city should have documents because they're making decisions here that affect other people. And so I expected they would have documentation like they claim to have. And so I asked for that. And I'm telling you, any other group that I worked with, if they're making decisions that affect other people, you say, hey, look, I want to see the documentation. They want to share that responsibility. They'll lay it right out for you, not here. And so I began to be very suspicious. And I filed finally a Freedom of Information request, which is another legal document. When you're talking legal documents, you're talking attorneys in court. So I filed that thing. And then I waited and wondered what would happen. And here it was, $300, So I finally made the downstroke and wondered what would happen. Now, imagine that you agree with someone that they're going to remove a tree in your driveway, $400, but got to have $200 up front. So you pay him the $200, and he goes, oh, my God, you paid. I don't have a saw. What am I going to do? Well, I got $200. What are you going to do? You're going to raise the money. So, well, it's going to cost $1,000. Get some more money. And so that makes me wonder, why aren't they showing the information if they have it? I think they don't. I don't think they have any. I don't think they have any documentation at all. So how are they basing their decisions? That's the question. Is it relying on the wisdom bestowed from Jesus, hence the prayer, before every city government meeting? Or are they just saying, whatever the money tells me to do, that's what I'm going to do? Now, I ask them, but I never get any answers. So I'm asking you, what do you think?
Is there anyone else that would care to address the commission? I want to acknowledge that Ken Mahoney, Chairman of the County Commission, is here tonight. Commissioner, I don't know if you want to say anything after this is through, but we're glad that you're here.
Always interested in being here.
Thank you. Second and fourth Tuesday of the month. Shani? Name and address again, please.
Shanti Davy, 4380 Hackley Point Lane, Norton Shores. Well, of course, you all know that, I see a bright new future for Muskegon, where the community leaders and the people work together for the benefit of all of us. And, that includes cleaning up Saffy, and it includes transparency in government. It includes, nice clean jobs coming to the area. But I think it also it includes common sense in government. I also requested some information, and I've got a Freedom of Information Act letter back, and the information that I asked for was the annual budget for fluoride in the water, for the fluoridation of the water. And first person I asked seemed very friendly, and sure, I'll call you tomorrow with that. And I got a call the next day saying, file a Freedom of Information Act. Now, I don't know if the budget of the city or that kind of thing could be online somewhere, but it's a simple one figure that should be on a computer that someone could look up and call. Instead, the time was spent, the taxpayer paid for this person to write the letter and send it and tell me it'd be $40 and a half hour's work for that information. Who gets $80 an hour here? For their work. I don't know. But I've already paid for someone to write this letter, or at least the taxpayers of Muskegon have. So, but, I just feel like, that's ridiculous that you wouldn't just give me that figure. So I don't know. The other thing that Dan points out is there's no fee structure. There's no way of finding out how much it really costs to get this information. Do you have anything like that? Do you have any pamphlets or information that tell how everything's figured out? Because that would be a good idea. And I'm going to go forward without the information, because I think when I eventually do, it won't make me look bad, it'll make our government look bad. So if you have any information about where I can find the information online, which seems like, people should be able to find that kind of information online, it would free up staff time and, So if anyone has any information on that, I would like to hear it.
Not off the top of my head.
What?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, I'll be back, so.
Look forward to it. Second and fourth Tuesday of the month. Monday before the first Tuesday is a work session.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else care to address the commission? Need your name and address, please.
Nell Schaefer, 1527 6th Street. I'm here also to speak about the Freedom of Information Act requests. I think, just to bring up a couple points, is that I do think it should be more affordable than $300 or $750 for people to get information. And for a couple reasons, I think that we have to also think about if it becomes a high cost, then who has access to that information? And I'd be concerned that in the city of Muskegon, we have a lot of low-income people, and that already there's not a lot of participation that I see in local government or local issues. There is participation, but I think that, in my view, it would be great to have even more participation. And I think making information available can really help with that. And we also need to be honest about what are the reasons that people aren't participating. And I think that's because things seem inaccessible, and also people feel disenfranchised when people don't listen, right? So I would just ask also that maybe, like Shanti mentioned, maybe having some sort of available fee schedule or something like that, or just in general making it more affordable for FOIA requests. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Hood.
If there is nothing else, I move to adjourn.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Commissioner, how you doing there?